Moving beyond good versus evil. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower. Welcome to our St. Patrick's Night show. I should say I'm Jeffrey O'Dougherty here in the building with you. No green beer, nothing like that around here. Funny color because the hat on my face, on my head, but you know, we'll just have to deal with that. Nice to see you. And for 2,000 years, ladies and gentlemen, we've been battling something. For 2,000 years, we've been afflicted with something. For 2,000 years, we've been held captive by something. And it's something that even we in the truth movement, even we in the enlightenment movement, we suffer from it, as well as the people that are not looking for truth, that are not really looking for enlightenment. We suffer from the same disorder. Hello there, nice to see you. We suffer from the same disorder, and the problem we have, the difficulty we're facing, is this battle, if you will, is this perception that we're battling. It's a perception that we have this battle of good versus evil. It's a perception that we have this battle. I don't believe that we really have this battle. I believe it's just a perception in our minds. It's a very pervasive or all-pervasive perception because it's at least 6,000 years in the making, probably 10,000 years or more. And if you look at the imagery contained within this representation, you've got the good guys, the white hats with their halos, against the bad guys with their horns. And if you notice, you've got this ultimately good figure and this ultimately bad figure. But what I really want you to notice is that everybody's a pawn. Did you notice that? There's no rooks, there's no queens, there's no bishops. Everybody's a pawn. And we're a pawn when we believe that there really is a chessboard or a checkerboard. We're a pawn if we believe that. We're a pawn if we believe that there's some ultimate evil, good battling some ultimate evil. We're pawns if we believe that. And we're pawns if we allow ourselves to believe that we are places being moved on a board in this game. There is no great controversy. There is no great battle between good and evil, between God and Satan. It's a false paradigm that we've been stuck with for some 2,000 years, and it's not serving us, and I think it's time that we should say no to it. The good versus evil paradigm, ladies and gentlemen, has one real distinct purpose. The good versus evil paradigm has the purpose of keeping us fighting. If you believe that there's ultimate good, and if you believe that there's ultimate evil, then there will always be a fight to fight. And there will always be fear. Think of that. If you believe that there's evil, there's always going to be something to fear. There's always going to be something to be afraid of. And more importantly, for our purposes here, there's always going to be someone for you to be fearful of. There's always going to be someone for you to be battling against. It's meant to keep us fighting, and it's meant to keep us fearful. This good versus evil paradigm. As long as you believe there's good, you're going to be looking for people in white hats. As long as you believe there's bad, you're going to be looking for people in black hats. And you're not looking at people, you're looking for hats. It guarantees that there will be continued strife, continued warfare. And what did the Christ say that he came to bring? I come to bring you peace. And peace that passes all understanding, not peace as the world brings. I came to, peace I leave with you, he said. Peace I leave with you. Let me show you that, because I think it's very, very powerful. And it's written by John, who I think was the most reliable voice in the New Testament. That's why I pay so much attention to him. I think he's very, very believable, and I think that most of his writings are very good. And this is the Christ. He says, peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not the kind of peace that the world gives, but my peace. The kind of peace that this world gives is the kind of peace that's maintained by fighting. The peace that this world gives is the kind of peace that's maintained by war. How do we maintain peace? We got to fight for peace. That's peace like the world gives, as the Christ was saying. The world gives a peace, but it's a peace that's a false peace. It's not a real peace. But Christ said, listen, I give you my peace, my peace. And with the peace of the Christ, you don't have to be troubled. You don't have to be afraid. With the peace that we have, I mean, technically right now, the United States is at peace. We don't have a war going on within our own country. So technically we're at peace. But how many of you are troubled? How many of you are afraid? Because it's still a good versus evil paradigm that rules this present world system. It continues to guarantee strife and no peace. It's the opposite of what the Christ wanted. And the world says that peace comes only by fighting. That's a lie. It's a lie that is a strategy that is set up to continue this good versus evil paradigm. I'm suggesting to you that we need to move past this good versus evil paradigm. And one thing that the good versus evil paradigm perpetuates forever is that us versus them mentality. If you believe in good versus evil, you've set up an ultimate us versus them, an eternal us versus them. And as long as there's a them, there's always a reason for us to be afraid. And as long as there's an us, there's always a reason for them to be afraid. But there really is no them, only us, and no one's free till we're all free, and no one has peace until we all have peace. We've been fighting since Rome took over. I'm just talking within our Western culture. This good versus evil breeds us versus them. And let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, there'll always be an enemy in this scenario. And the dirty, rotten truth is that the us versus them, the good versus evil paradigm is based upon this idea of original sin. This idea that we're born with sin within us. That's the basis of the us versus them, because if everybody's born with sin within them, then you've got to worry about them. You've got to be afraid of them. But the Christ said we all are born with the spark of divinity. And John said that as soon as we come into this world, we are enlightened by the enlightenment of the Christ. So actually the opposite of that is true. That's why I say there's no them, only us. We've all received the message of enlightenment. You can trust you can trust me. We need to get on a playing field of peace and acceptance rather than fighting and suspicion. And this good versus evil constantly keeps us in our low reptilian mind. The low reptilian mind, we are a hybrid between human and reptilian. The low reptilian mind is basically our fight and flight. And the us versus them paradigm keeps us in fight or flight modality. The us versus them paradigm keeps us in fight or flight modality. So it's important for us to move beyond the concept of good versus evil. It's important for us to move beyond the concept of fight or flight and to get into our high reptilian strategic, our high human facilitating peace, and stay there. Be gentle as doves, be subtle as serpents. That's very, very important for us to do. John says we're fighting a very experienced enemy that's played the game for 20,000 years and depends upon our belief in their illusion. Exactly. We have to say no to this idea of good versus evil. Good versus evil also puts both on an equal playing field. If there's an epic battle of good versus evil, then it means that evil is just as powerful as good. It means that the divine just barely has more power than the devil. Don't you see that that is a way to facilitate continued fear, continued dread, continued doubt, continued worry? Don't you see that's a way to take you out of peace and to keep you from growing and mastering your ascension, but to keep you fighting the game, the good versus evil game? The reality, ladies and gentlemen, is that, as I believe FDR said in a speech, all there is to fear is fear itself. And that is so true. If you're a truly spiritual person, you don't have anything to fear. If you're a truly spiritual person, the only fear that you have is falling into fear. Good versus evil puts both on a level playing field. Good versus evil convinces you there's a battle that's not really there. Now, someone said that there's definitely bad stuff out there. Is there? Is there really definitely bad stuff out there? How do you know that there's really bad stuff out there? What makes you think that there's really bad stuff out there? What makes you say that there's really bad stuff out there? I was a Pentecostal evangelist for 20 years, and I went looking for bad stuff. And you know where I always found it? I always found it in churches. Did you ever notice that it's only the church people that have demons? They don't have exorcisms in other places. Why? Because they don't have demons in other places. Why? Because they're not looking for demons in other places. Listen to this. Fear God, he commands it. Fear God, he commands it. Nobody who dwells in the Spirit of God lives with fear in their heart. Now, wait a second, Coastal Direct. I'm confused. If God says you have to fear him, then how can you dwell in the Spirit of God if you don't fear him? You just said if you've got fear God, but you just said that nobody that fears can dwell in the Spirit of God. You're right on the second part. No one with fear can dwell within the Spirit of the divine. And there's no real God that says to fear him or her. And if you have a God that says that you have to fear them, that's not a real God. If you think there's a God and you think your God, you think you have to fear your God's not a real God. Oh, he's the only one I should fear. Really? Really? What kind of a God wants you to fear him? What kind of a boyfriend wants you to fear him? One that's going to slap you and beat you, one you should leave. What kind of a parent wants you to fear them? One that's going to slap you or beat you, one you should leave. What kind of a God wants you to fear him? The kind that you should get away from now, because they're not really a God if they want you to fear them. They want you to fear them because they're afraid you'll find out they're not a God. The Christ didn't say, fear me. Only the rat bastard, Jehovah, Yahweh, says, fear me. I don't fear any God. And I don't believe any God that causes fear for his own pleasure or his own respect. If your God wants fear, if your God asks for fear, if your God expects fear, he's not the Most High. He's one great big stinking sorry lie. Most High, big lie. I don't fear you, Yahweh, Lord, Jehovah, rat bastard, Marduk. I don't fear you. Because only the people that walk around and say, oh, you got to fear me, they're the ones that are really babies, sissies, and if you resist them, they run away, tuck tail between their legs. When's the last time your God showed up anywhere, Coastal, and did anything? Never, because he can't and he won't. He's a baby. He's afraid. Your God is Satan. Hello, ding dong, wake up. Check this. The Bible that the people that claim to believe in this God that says to fear them says that fear is the opposite of faith, and that where there's fear, you can't have faith. So again, Coastal, in your own self-contradiction, fear God, he commands it. Nobody who dwells in the Spirit of God has fear in their heart. Can't you see the contradiction you're trying to live? If you have fear for God in your heart, you can't dwell in the Spirit of God. You said it right. And if you're fearing God, then you cannot have true faith. Boom. That's just the way it is. And see, that's what this fear, this good versus evil paradigm sets up. Let me move on. We're talking about, are there bad things out there? There are things that seem to be bad. There's very, 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 very few demons. And most of you will never, ever deal with a demon. I know you don't want to hear that. I know you want to believe that you're special. I know you want to believe that you're facing demons. I know you want to believe that you're being accosted by demons, but you're not. You're not. There's very few demons out there. But what am I facing? What's coming to scare me? There's many demons. In your world, Coastal, there are many demons because you live in a world of fear caused by your failed, fallen, flawed God. I have been in this for 36 years, Coastal. I was a pastor for 20 years. I was an evangelist casting out demons for 20 years. I've got a Bible college degree. I spent 100,000 hours studying the Bible, and I'm telling you, there's no demons. Very, 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 very few. Most of you will never encounter a demon, but what you will encounter is unbalanced energy. You're so afraid of darkness that you have to sleep with a under-ruse nightlight. Tell me you're not afraid. There's fear dripping from your words, and you can be set free of that fear. What comes against you, what you think is a demon, is really just unbalanced energy coming back to you via the law of attraction. You have put out unbalanced energy. It has swirled around, drawn like energy to itself. Sometimes it's been out there long enough to have some type of personality coalesce. It comes back to you because it has to. Like a salmon swimming upstream, it has to come back to you to be balanced. But it doesn't want to be balanced. It wants to live. So it tries to scare you. It tries to get you all upset. And it knows how to push your buttons. But it's not a demon. It's not a devil. It's just unbalanced energy that you yourself unbalanced. And here's one of the greatest. Coastal, I appreciate you saying what you said. We understand where you're coming from. If you continue to preach in the chat room, I will block you. I do the preaching here. Brother, sister. I do the preaching here. And I just lost my train of thought. Here's words that will change your life. What you resist continues to persist. And as long as you continue to resist demons, as long as you continue to resist devils, as long as you continue to resist, it will continue to persist. It's just that simple. Well, Jeff, you don't want me to resist these things? No, I don't. What I want you to do is when these things that you call demons, when these things that you call devils come to you, I don't want you to fight them. I don't want you to slay them. I don't want you to roar. I want you to flood them with positive, balanced energy. And when you flood them with positive, balanced energy, one of two things will happen. They will either snap back into balance or they will run away. But because of universal spiritual laws, they have to come back again another day. You have to realize you're not fighting a war, you're playing a game. Religious people are fighting battles, spiritual people are playing games. Religious people are fighting demons. Spiritual people are playing with energy. Religious people are conducting spiritual warfare. Spiritual people are conducting alchemy. There's two types of people around these here parts. There's the religionists and there's the alchemists. No, April, you're missing the point, my dear. If you stand firm, you're resisting. Remember, you're playing a game. The game is the unbalanced entity comes in trying to disrupt your flow and get you to go into, you know how it is with what is it? Opposites attracts, the third law of thermodynamics, Newton's third law. If you take a magnet and you put another magnet right up against it, if you put them the wrong way, they push each other apart. But if you put them the right way, boom, they cling each other together. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get that magnet and your magnet to boom, link up, and now you got balanced frequency again. You got balanced energy again. You got balanced electricity again. Don't stand firm. Flood with positive. Flood with balance. Don't resist. Flood with balance. And might I suggest that if you're being bothered by what you call demons, and you've been bothered by demons for years and years and years, well, you might want to try something differently. You might want to try something different. You might want to try something new. I've been fighting demons all my life, and I know they're real. Well, maybe you've been fighting demons all your life because you know they're real. As I see someone in the chat room, I'm reminded that I was even interviewed on Al Jazeera radio during drive time in Cairo about jinn and demons. They were fascinated by the same basic talk that I'm giving you. And they won't bother you anymore once you start throwing out that balanced energy, because they can't stay in that balanced energy. They either have to run or they have to get rebalanced. And sooner or later, you'll wear them down. They'll get rebalanced. If you stop resisting, they'll stop persisting. Ooh. When you're willing to stop resisting, then your demons will stop persisting. When you're willing to stop resisting, then your devils will stop persisting. But as long as you resist, they will continue to persist. It's up to you how soon you want to be free. Completely random. That's the end of those notes. The whole idea of good versus evil keeps the fear and guilt control matrix of religion in business. The whole idea of good versus evil keeps the us versus them paradigm in business. The whole idea of good and evil guarantees that we never get peace and security. And the whole idea of good and evil guarantees a continued existence of unbalanced, antagonistic energy within our universe. This may be the key, most important factor in all of spirituality. And it goes right back to that original sin idea. If we didn't believe that we lived in a world and in a universe of sin, things will, someone over here on Twitter says there will always be war and rumors of war. There will, as long as there's a good versus evil paradigm. Imagine a world without this concept of good versus evil. Imagine a world with no fear. Imagine a world with no conflict. Imagine a world of harmony. You can create that within your own life. You can create that within your own existence. And as you create it within your life, as you create it in your existence, then it'll start to bleed over into other people's existence, and they'll start creating it. And before you know it, we'll find that elusive 100th monkey, and we'll tip the scale. We'll tip the paradigm. Ooh, I just had a big revelation. I don't know if I should throw it out here or not, or if I should save it for everybody's worried about the pole shift. There's going to be a pole shift. North is going to be south. South is going to be north. There's going to be this huge shaking pole shift. What if they're right? But what if they're wrong? What if they don't know what they're talking about? What if it's a spiritual pole shift and things are going to be turned upside down? What if they're talking about the fall of the good versus evil paradigm, the collapse of Yahweh's present world system? And what if they don't even know? Isn't it just like this world to have us fearing, oh my God, a pole shift. Oh my God, a pole shift. When it's the best thing to ever happen to humanity. Maybe the paradigm's crumbling. Maybe the pole shift's coming, and it's a spiritual pole shift. That's something to think about. We are the last generation of real humans. Let's get busy. Be your own guru, guide your own spirit, master your own ascension, ask questions, question answers. Say no to fear. Say no to guilt. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. You are the Gospel Truth Army. I salute you and encourage you to unindoctrinate yourself.